Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and Happy New Year. I know it is the middle of January right now and I am a little bit late to posting this video, but you know, life takes over at the end of the year usually. Like December and the start of January is like a little bit of like a random period where it's like meeting up with friends and family and getting all festive, and so life just takes over. And so here I am back with my part 2 of books I read in 2024. And disclaimer, I read 23 books, but it technically is still 2024 in the lunar calendar, so if you want an extension, just ask the lunar calendar, I guess. But yeah, I technically did not read 24 books in 2024, but I kind of have at the same time, if that makes any sense. So take it with a pinch of salt, you know. But I am proud of how many books I read, which is good. Without further ado, let's get into this video. Okay, of course, I have written it down all in my trusty, really really old notebook. I've just lost the little... It's fine. It's fine. That's how old it is. I got this in year 9. Okay, so the 13th and the 14th book that I read were part of a series, the Bridgerton series. Also, if you haven't checked out part 1, then I'll leave the link down below. But I'm starting off this part with the books 13 and 14. That's where I left off. So this was An Offer from a Gentleman and To Sir Philip with Love, and these were the ones with Benedict's love story, and then To Sir Philip with Love was Eloise's love story. And I have to say, I am so excited for Benedict's season. I am so excited. And I am so glad that I listened to these on audiobook, because then I could get the sense of the world, especially when music is incorporated into the recording of audiobooks. I love. I did really enjoy An Offer from a Gentleman, and I'm so excited to watch it. I'm so glad that I read it, or like listened to the audiobook, to then be able to watch the coming season of Bridgerton and kind of know what's happening. But I'll be also really excited to see how new characters come in and create more drama, really. I'm so excited for it. And there is a new family in town. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen any news about Bridgerton or the new season of Bridgerton, there is a new East Asian family on the block, and I'm so excited for that. With Eloise's love story, I am also very excited for that. Eloise is one of my favourite characters. At the start, I wasn't really a big fan. Like in season 1, wasn't a big fan. But throughout the seasons, she is becoming like one of my favourite characters. And their love story is really sweet. But I don't know how that's going to be portrayed with the Netflix series. So I'm excited for that as well. Okay, the next few books I read were Shakespeare plays. Firstly, All's Well That Ends Well. I read this because I wanted to learn a speech from it, and it's Helen's speech, and then I went to see it at the Globe. And I have to say, this play is, I mean, a lot of Shakespeare's plays are a little bit problematic because of, I guess, the period and the context of when they were written. It was literally hundreds of years ago. It does explore relationship dynamics and manipulation and sexual harassment. It is very odd. And so reading this play, I was a bit like skeptical, and I was a bit like, and I was really questioning some of the moves that these characters play and do, which was really strange. And then to watch it being performed as well, kind of helped, but also didn't at the same time tell the story. So yeah, it was a bit problematic, but it is a Shakespeare play at the end. Like, everything is like high stakes, and so that does make sense in a way, but also kind of problematic. And definitely don't read it if you don't want to read about those themes. And then next is The Tempest. I read that because I I wanted to know more about the play, because usually I hear about The Tempest because schools study it, drama classes or English classes study it. I never really studied it that much. I think I maybe studied like a scene from it, but it didn't really sink into my brain that much. And I do really enjoy it. It is actually quite a good play. It's speedy, it's fast, and things happen quite nicely, if that makes sense. It's quite a nice paced play. Not a lot happens, but a lot happens at the same time. And so reading it versus watching it would be very different. Reading it, you have to create those characters and those stakes and the drama in your mind a little bit more. But if you went to go see it, then of course everything will come together, the performance and production will come together to make it more dramatized for you to be able to watch and retain a lot better. But yeah, I really enjoyed that one, much more than I did All's Well That Ends Well. Okay, the next book that I read was Dear Dolly. She used to be a like agony aunt for a magazine or newspaper, I can't remember. That's really bad. And so she would have people write letters to her and ask her for advice on their situation. And in this book, she collates a few of the ones that she thought, I guess, it was important to know about, and like lots of people would write in to her about, and explores different themes and life, relationships, growing up, friendships. And I really like self-help books kind of like this, that you also know that other people are going through the same thing. And her advice is great because she comes in with calm and peace and really thinks about every scenario, but also how the person might be feeling, sympathize and empathize, and yeah, come in with really positive and affirming tips to go on and how to proceed from there, depending on what the situation or problem the writer wrote in with. I think Dolly was the person who read it to me on the audiobook, and her voice was so calm and peaceful. I was literally like, I could listen to her all day. Seriously, so good. So I would definitely recommend that one if you did want any self-help books or any advice, because she came in with some really good points. The next book I read was Everything I Never Told You, and this book was really heartwarming, heartfelt, but also sad at the same time. It's about family dynamics and relationships within a family, and also how much you might know from just everyday interactions and how much you really don't know about people's lives, even if they are your siblings or your parents, and how a lot of the times you might even just be guessing about how one's life may be perceived in your opinion, and how you might see them as a person, but actually they're going through something deeper or something else that they're like fighting against or thinking about that you might not even really understand or comprehend or know about until they tell you, or unless they tell you. And sometimes you'll never know because they don't tell you and it doesn't show. And this is such a good book to read. I felt really gripped from the first chapter, really. And even though it's really simple in terms of like the plot, the characters, it's just everyday life, really, to the bare bones of things. And so the way Celeste writes is just so lovely, because I can really picture myself in that home, just watching these people around me, or the characters around me, going through everyday life. And she really paints the imagery and the relationship really well, that you feel really drawn in to the characters and really empathize with them or sympathize with them. Okay, the next books that I read, I feel like so many people in my life have been like, these are so good, read them. And then I got a 3-pack of books gifted to me for my birthday, and so I read them so fast. They're really easy reads, but also really fun reads. Like if you brought it to the beach one day, you would just be absorbed into it. It's so good. And the first book I read was Cheat Sheet, and that's a friends to lovers romance novel, and it's just so cute. I have to say, friends to lovers is not actually my favourite book trope, but this one was quite cute. A little bit cringy at points, but if you do like cringe, then that might be for you. But it wasn't too much. I thought it was like a good level, and it was just, yeah, so easy to read. Loved it. And then the second one was When in Rome, and this was a like kind of enemies to lovers situation, and I loved this. I really like this a lot. I think this one might be one of my favorite book tropes, and I love like how everything is set up, how everything is described, and how easy it is to read as well. Like literally these three books, so good. The third one is Practice Makes Perfect. I love when books are in some sort of series and it just follows on and you kind of know the characters already. So good. And this one is a little bit more like sweet and like friends to lovers situation, but it's also like teacher or tutor to lovers situation, and it is really cute. I have to say my favorite out of the three would be When in Rome though, but I definitely recommend reading any of these or all of them. And if you're looking for something light-hearted, these would be the ones for you. The next book that I read was Kim Ji-young, born in 1982. This one was a really quick read. I really enjoyed this one because it's about a different culture and a different life that not everybody hears about, and so reading through it was just so great. But then also with my East Asian background, I could also sympathize with it a lot, and so I'd say this book is such a good read if you want to just hear about a different voice that you've never heard about or thought about before. It's just, yeah, a really good, easy read to then read about someone else's life. I thought that it would be a lot more difficult to read for some reason. I don't know whether that was just my initial reaction to the cover or the blurb, but when I got to reading it, I like sat down, I'm pretty sure I finished it in like 2-3 days. But if I had like a whole full day, I'd probably read it in like a couple hours. So definitely recommend that. The next one that I read was Love Untold, and this one was quite a thick book, but it goes through different timelines, and so it flip-flops back and forth a little bit, and it also goes through like a generation of a family. And I thought this was really heartwarming. How they like figure out their family dynamics is really interesting, and so I did enjoy this one. It was really nice to read about like a Welsh family and female narrative, exploring all the females in the generations of a family. I hope I'm describing this well enough. And it explores how sometimes it's difficult to talk to your family about things, even if you might be really close, or if you're really distanced and you've not spoken to them in decades. And it is really heartwarming, like I said, and really interesting to read about how they navigate different things that pop up in their lives. Okay, the last book I read was Lessons in Chemistry. I really enjoyed this book. The premise of it is that it's a female in science, in chemistry, and just wanting to do what she does, basically, be a scientist, and all the different things that stand in her way, all the obstacles, whether it's society, the patriarchal society, and how people perceive her, and her position as just being a female, and the things that happen to her being unmarried, having a child, and being basically being a strong independent woman and going against what society might think of her, or societal pressures that challenge her, and being strong and level-headed and direct and going for what she wants regardless. I think the whole premise of it is amazing, and the different aspects of it, there must have been so much research to go into it. I just thought it was great, and the whole narrative and the tone of voice of the characters was so clever and cleverly written and portrayed and structured throughout the book. I thought that it was just such a great read. So I definitely recommend Lessons in Chemistry. I have to say, as a roundup of all the books that I read in 2024, my favourite was the first and the last books that I read, which is kind of odd. I started off really strong and ended up really strong as well. So the first book I read was Yellowface. Stunning. I loved it so much. I was like, wow, we started off 2024 strong. And then the last book was Lessons in Chemistry, and both were really strong female narratives and female voices, and I think that might reflect how my 2024 felt in a way. That is everything that I read in part 2 of 2024. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more. I don't know whether I will read 25 books in 2025, but I will try to read as many books as possible. If you do have any recommendations for me, then please just comment down below any of them, and I'll check them out and see if any of them tickle my fancy. So any recommendations are so welcome. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day. Bye!